Hey everyone, Adrian here, and welcome to what is kind of a pilot episode for a new series that I'm calling World Record Report. Now, the idea here is that there's a lot of speedrunning communities, right? And it's pretty rare that you get to actually see all of these speedrunning communities kind of at scale at the same time. There's marathon events like Games Done Quick, but for the most part, when a world record happens, when a notable thing happens in a speedrunning community, it's kind of hard to figure out what the heck's going on with that. There's a big approachability issue that we have in speedrunning because you don't know what's going on when you watch the world record. Unless, of course, you are already part of the community. And so this concept is an attempt to try and bridge that gap in the same way that Games Done Quick is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at some recent world records that have happened within the last week or two and talk to those players and say, you know, what did you do that made this world record happen? Tell me about the game. Tell me why people should join your community. And for this video, for this pilot, I tried really hard to get like a lot of variety, right? Like we have a 6-hour long 100% run and we have a 14-minute any percent, right? So there's variety in categories, in game genres, in reasons as to why they got the world record. And so, you know, if there's a specific game or a specific idea that you're interested in, there's timestamps in the description. Feel free to skip to the one that you're interested in. But of course, I would encourage you to watch the whole video because I think the variety is what makes this interesting, and you get to expose yourself to a lot of different communities in things that you might not have thought you were interested in before. Now, the reason why I'm calling this a pilot is because I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it. So what's super important here is if you like this idea, please let me know, either in the comments or DM me or anything like that. Just let me know, like, hey, I want to see more of this because it obviously takes a lot of work to put together, and I don't know. It was fun for me, but we'll see if it keeps going based on feedback. And it goes the other way as well. If you have any actual feedback or criticism or anything like that, hey, this could have been better, I would have been interested to see this, please let me know, because that's only going to make these videos better if they keep going. Okay, so I think that's all for me. You are going to see me pop back into some of the interviews to explain things a little quicker. You know, these people gave me so much information, which was amazing. I got to learn so much, but, you know, I had to keep their segments pretty short, so I couldn't include everything that they said, unfortunately. And for some of the deeper explanations, it was easy for me to just give you the fast version as opposed to play the entire thing. If you are a fan of speedrunning, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I make a wide range of speedrunning related videos across a number of topics. And otherwise, I hope you enjoy.
Hey, my name is Nyiddle, and I'm currently the world record holder for every category in Ghostwire Tokyo. So, I mean, it's a first-person shooter. It's very movement-heavy. So it's like a really sort of volatile run as a game because every movement sort of can quickly turn into a 10 to 20 second time loss. It's sort of a movement heavy speed run with, I guess, an emphasis on sort of like fast inputs, fast attacking, fast interactions, and good boss fights. Really, as a game, I'm a huge fanboy for the game itself. Just the whole concept, like, you know, it's set in Japan, and there's a lot of like interesting sort of lore that goes into everything. The documents in the game are practically a Wikipedia of like Japanese spooky folklore and stuff like that. So it's really cool from a story standpoint. But just in terms of, I guess, the flashiness of the run, it's kind of down to, you know, like really clean movements and you know, when you hit these glides, like when you glide in the game, you start to feel that it's like not the most accurate thing. So when you can actually pull off these like perfect movements where you're landing in exactly the right spot, jumping, spending as little time on the ground as possible, sort of, that's when the run, I think, really starts to shine and you know, feels good to do. When I was doing the run, I was saying pretty much every attempt, I was like, I wish we had one major point where I could say, this is the spot where we save 45 seconds, and if we carry that through the rest of the run. But it was like, you know, we needed 2 seconds here, and then 3 seconds here, and then, you know, we needed a decent section here. You know, my rule as I was doing that run was basically, if we're plus 10 and we're less than 30 minutes into the run, that's an instant reset. There's no chance. Basically, the categories are split up between standard and Tatari. And Tatari in Japanese means godlike. And basically, Tatari is the hardest difficulty. Everything one-shots you. You don't get the ability to upgrade anything. I really like Tatari as a run because it requires like absolute perfection. Every boss can one-shot you. Everything can go absolutely horrible anytime during the run. So it's really volatile. But it's a really fun run, and beefing up the bosses makes it a little bit harder. And then I also run all missions, which is 42 side quests, 17 main missions, and 25 tanukis that we have to find throughout the run. And I have that down to sub 3 hours now. There's like 3 or 4, I would say, sort of semi-dedicated runners. The previous world record holder, Shishijima, in any percent standard, had like a really clean run. I mean, that run, I saw it, and I had to verify it as a moderator of SRC, and I saw it, and I was like, dude, this is going to take me like 70 plus attempts to even come close to, and it did. The biggest thing, and I say it a lot, like I say it all the time, I think the run really needs a new set of eyes, a few new runners, to maybe start like thinking outside of the box and doing a few things differently, and maybe experiment and maybe find some glitches or some stuff. Tango made a really solid game, which is both good and bad, right? Because it's good because, it's not that buggy and we don't have to deal with crashes and weird performance stuff. That's great. But it's bad because it's so solid that we can't skip any triggers, we can't skip any checkpoints. Everything seems tied to the previous objective. So even if you can avoid fighting a boss or something like that, the game's just like, we're not going to let you do that. So, I guess next for the run, besides perfecting the route as it currently stands, which would be kind of a pain, I don't know. We need some glitches. We need some skips. We need something. I would really like to be able to go back to the run and say, I have a 1-minute time save because we discovered that you can do this. And then implementing that into a run is a lot more natural and fun, I would say, than just grinding the same exact route, trying to get every possible, millisecond out of that route. So, yeah, more runners, please. I'm the only one that's done all missions. So I'm fully confident that if somebody were to come to all missions and ignore my route completely and just like route it out themselves, they might be able to come up with something better than what I've come up with.
Hello, my name is Glacia, and I am currently the world record holder for TUNIC, Relics, no major skips.
Hi, I'm TGH, and I recently had the world record for TUNIC, all relics, no major skips.
Andrew Schultes is the creator of the game, and he's actually shown up in doing commentary for a few GDQ runs. He was at GDQ, he was at Fastest Furs and Power Up with Pride. And every time everyone said hey, give us an elevator pitch of TUNIC. And the answer has always been well, TUNIC is an isometric action adventure about a tiny fox in a big world where you explore the wilderness, fight monsters, and find secrets.
It's kind of a mixture between the original Legend of Zelda game for the NES and something like Dark Souls, where it's more like the gameplay and the combat is more like Dark Souls, and the exploration aspect is more like Zelda 1. And it's a really nice combination and mishmash of those two concepts. My first video game I ever played was Zelda 1, and I got the same feeling. It really brought me back a good 20 years to the first time I ever played a video game. So
a lot of the categories in TUNIC are relatively short as far as speedruns go. Any percent is about 21 minutes currently. And so this is a category that's kind of designed in the spirit of glitchless. It's all relics, which is kind of like a late game optional item. And it's no major skip, so it's kind of in the spirit of glitches, where it kind of makes you play the whole game, and it ends up being about a 50-ish minute run. At the time of this recording, 4 days ago, I got a 48:16, and then 1 day ago, another runner by the name of TGH came in and got a 48:04, and he is a very mechanically gifted runner. His movement is insane. And last night, after a bunch of attempts, I got a 47:51. So it hasn't been a day yet. These records haven't cooled down.
I was kind of surprised to be able to take the record kind of as soon as I did, but then Glacia was just no, and then just took it back and was all right. It was less of a back and forth than me just kind of showing up and being hi, I'm here. And then Glacia just being all right, you're not there anymore.
I'd say one of the big things, especially for this category, is just movement, micro movement and refinement. There's, over the past few records, there hasn't been new tech showing up. Like it's mostly refinement and like micro optimizations, and it's pretty cool because there's just a whole community of people that's like finding this tiny thing, like, oh hey, this something as simple as like you can grapple this point from here and save half a second type thing. Like, oh, this setup is a few frames faster than this one. It's just a lot of little things that just add up over the course of the run. So yeah, it's a lot of just movement getting efficiently from point A to point B, more so than just like a giant trick that's the roadblock.
There's still a lot of really cool tech involved. A lot of things that you might not think of, like equipment optimizations or like inventory optimizations, stuff like that. Just the way you'd move, death warping, maintaining health. There's a lot to keep track of, and it's still it's a brutal speedrun, really, at the top level, like all the speedruns are for Tunic, really.
I'd say one of the jaw drop moment of this category is there's an area in the game called Dark Tomb, which, as you might guess, is pretty dark. You're designed to get a lantern so that you can see and navigate through it. Any percent had already been doing what was called lanternless, because it just needed to go in to like the top level of Dark Tomb, and all Relics had to do the entirety of Dark Tomb, and we recently started doing lanternless thanks to a runner named Silent Destroyer.
It takes a lot of knowledge and practice to be able to do those parts of the game fluently without the lantern. Well, just because you're not skipping any major parts of the game does not mean you're not trying to optimize and skip, getting the lantern, for instance. So you need to do that at a top level, and it's really it's just like, it's a cool part of the run. It's I think that's the coolest part of the run, is being able to do that fluently. Glacia is just a super experienced runner in that category. They've been grinding it for a while. They totally deserve the record for it, honestly. Yeah, there's something to be said for experience, for sure. And obviously they're very good at the game as well. And there's got to be both. There's got to be both the experience and the tech, and like the ability to perform everything that you need to be at the top. And that's exactly what they did. And it's just like a mixture. A lot of people underestimate the amount of experience that you need for things to go smoothly in the first place, to give you a chance to play well, to give you, to get you at the top. And that's what they do. So
the community has been like awesome. It's one of the most like inclusive, welcoming speedrun communities that I've ever seen. This sounds really cheesy, but like I've made a lot of good friends running this funny Fox game. So honestly, if someone like Silent or Radicoon or Landy, or there's a bunch of runners, like if they said, hey, I'm picking up this, like I would be really inclined to like follow them in addition to Tunic. But like there's people that I'm gonna follow and run stuff with because I got to meet them through this cool game. Tunic as a game has wonderful developers behind it. I mentioned Andrew Scholtes, the lead creator of Tunic, and that was kind of one of the design philosophies in Tunic, is that there is no set in stone critical path. Like it's very open to exploration and creativity. So if you're someone that's interested in either running a preset route that someone's routed out or figuring out your own game, like this is a beautiful game for like flexing your routing muscles. It's a cool game. It's funny Fox go fast. Play it as a speed game, play it as a casual game. It's amazing in both worlds. I have 540 hours in this game, and I'm nowhere close to being done yet.
Hello everyone, I'm Elfinout, and I recently achieved my newest PB and world record of 1432 in the any percent emulator category for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Any percent is the glitch heavy category where no bars are held. We use Kung Lao because he's the most broken character in the game. But the goal is to get to boss rush as fast as possible, which we skip one of the main doors in the game, and then just we turn an hour run into currently 14 and a half minutes. Shaolin Monks is, in my opinion, casually a great game. But when it comes to a speed game as well, it's extremely rewarding, and it actually has a ton of character throughout it. Between like the awesome tricks, glitches, combat, the scenery and atmosphere of MK coming to the 3D space, like you can feel that you're actually going fast, hitting hard in this game, and it's rewarding. It also has a great mix of skill and RNG that makes it really enjoyable and kind of refreshing to play through because you don't know if you're going to get that bit of luck. But it's not so RNG dependent that every run feels like it's just 100% up in the air. If you put in the time to learn the tricks, you will get runs that make it all the way to the end of the game, and you can see your progress as a player without it just being did the map agree with me today or something like that. For glitch heavy runs that specifically use Kung Lao, there are three main pillars in any category. They're the three pillars of Kung Lao, really.
Hello, it's me again. I need to step in on this one because Elfinout gave me like an awesome explanation of what the heck was going on with this game in terms of the actual mechanics that get abused. But I could not include the entire thing because it was quite lengthy, and it makes me sad because it was so interesting. I wish I could show it all to you, but there's a time limit here. But what he described to me is that there are three main pillars to this game in terms of glitches. The first one is what he calls undermapping, which is essentially going out of bounds in the game. In order to do this, you have to have very precise inputs to let you go under the ground, and then you just repeat those inputs to allow you to move forward. Now, this thing that they discovered is actually quite slow, this first version, and so the second pillar is kind of the big brother of undermapping, and it's what they call infinite kicking. And that's what you're seeing on the screen here. It's instead of doing the slow version, you're doing the fast version, which is like a backflip kick. It is much faster, but it's also much harder to actually do. Your inputs have to be very precise, and you have to have the right tempo of, pausing and unpausing. But in any event, that's what you're seeing through all of this, is that they're navigating the map with infinite kicking. The last pillar that he mentioned is called the stagger meter, or essentially staggering the boss enemies that you find at the end of the game. There's a series of 3 bosses in a kind of boss rush style. He describes the first boss, Shang Tsung, as kind of a pushover, or, it's basically solved, as it were, that fight. You shove him into a corner, and you spam a certain pattern of inputs, and that'll get you to the end of the fight. It's still, not super easy, you have to time it right. But you have to know how to stagger Shang Tsung in order to defeat him. The next boss, Kintaro, is a little bit harder, and he doesn't get staggered until you've dealt a certain amount of damage to him. So you want to attack as fast as possible with, again, a certain pattern of moves. And you want to make sure you're attacking him from his left side, because apparently the hitbox is much bigger there, so you can deal more damage faster. Finally, there's Shao Kahn, the final boss of the game, and he's kind of the run killer, which is unfortunately right at the end of the run. Phase 1 is very similar to Kintaro. You just want to attack as fast as possible, get him staggered. But Phase 2 of Shao Kahn is kind of where the RNG comes in. At the beginning of Phase 2, you get 13 seconds to deal as much damage as you can, and then he just starts swinging his hammer, and when he's swinging his hammer, you can't deal any damage to him, so you want to really bulk up on those 13 seconds beforehand. As Kung Lao, you can't kill him in those 13 seconds. His attack patterns are kind of random, kind of annoying, so you have to be very reactive, and then once he's finished his hammer spin, you do it again. So anyway, there you go, there's 3. There's undermapping, infinite kicking, and stagger metering. Back to Elfinout.
So this most recent world record is just a culmination of refining my skills run after run after run. I've held the previous 4 world records. The first 16-minute barrier break was actually by a runner named Ozzy. Shoutouts to Ozzy and Jeffo. They're freaking phenomenal. They broke co-op down. But yeah, it's really just been chipping away at the time saves here and there, or in fights. Every time you get punched by Kintaro, depending on how he hits you, you lose 2 to 3 seconds. And so it's just being better at boss fights, being better at reacting to things, refining boss patterns to where stagger meters are more consistent and whatnot. It's been a grind, but there's still more room to work with it. So any percent's really fast paced. There's not a lot of time to autopilot. Anytime there's a trick in the run. So I have probably reset the first room of Shaolin Monks well into the thousands of times. I think just in any percent emulator, I have about 2,000 hours. I would say a majority of my resets are in the first room, because you start off with glitches. Like you have a cutscene, you have 2 seconds of movement, and then you have your first undermap, and then you have to kick to the back of the room. And so from the get-go, you were in it. You were locked in. And it is that through the run. You have trick after trick after trick. And apart from like 1 or 2 breathing sections, you are focusing on, is my timing for this perfect? Because if timing is off for undermapping, it'll jet you back up above the ground and you're screwed. And so you are constantly on your toes. And it's a rush. It really is. I've brought it down to such a degree that with the current strats and everything, the run itself is basically done. There's no room to grow other than just refining it to perfection. I would be happy getting a run in the low 1420s, and I would probably call my journey with the category good there. I don't know if I want to grind for the 1410s. It would take a truly incredible, like, you have to first try every trick, you have to get perfect boss patterns, you have to get an incredible phase 2 Shao Kahn. I don't know if I'm here for all of that grinding, but I definitely want to push it to the low 1420s. As always, like I'd love to plug the Discord. We have an MK general Discord, a general Mortal Kombat Discord. Feel free to join. Even if you don't plan on running the game and you're just, interested in watching people, join the Discord, ask questions. Even if it's not Shaolin monks, everyone is just so awesome in welcoming people in. It's a phenomenal game. I can't recommend it enough. Even casually, it's so good. So good.
Hi, my name is Kuro, and I just got the world record for Flushed Away Any %. Yeah, so this is Flushed Away, specifically the console version, which is on GameCube and PlayStation 2. However, everyone plays it on GameCube because it has faster load times. So it's an action-adventure platformer game. It's a very linear structure in how it goes. You just move level to level. The game just sends you on a path. It's a very weird game. This was made back in 2006, I believe, in time with the movie's release. And it's a licensed game, obviously. And as you know, licensed game has kind of like the stigma of just milking it and just kind of like half-baked game, just push it out, which is kind of true for Flushed Away, but it's a weird mess that just culminates, and it makes a very interesting speed game. There's been a lot of new discoveries. So like I said, 55 minutes, 44 seconds was the world record when I came into it. And there wasn't that many new things between that world record and to when I started to pick up the game. The world record holder at the time, Newts, still currently running it along with me. We're the 2 active runners. And from then, we found a lot of things. So we passed the record back and forth a bit, and then Newts took it down to 52 minutes and some time. Pretty much raw improvement, not too many new crazy things, just optimization. A week and a half ago, I finally found the catalyst. The entire theory, we just needed a start of it. And then we could skip an entire level, which was the longest level in the game, which cuts the time down by 10 to 11 minutes. 10 minutes is a lot. That's 20% of the entire speed run just cut away. The categories were split, so what was any % is now called all main missions. So yeah, the huge skip, I guess I can go into what that skip even entails. So it revolves around a concept of the game's checkpoints. So typically a checkpoint is set at the beginning of every level, because obviously if you die at the beginning, you'll just get sent back to the beginning of the level. There are 2 levels where that doesn't happen. These are the boat levels, which are kind of gimmicky, as opposed to being Roddy or Rita, the rat characters. You're on a boat. There is a checkpoint if you go forward even a few steps or just for a few seconds, you will get a checkpoint. But at the beginning, there isn't. So what we did, we used that memory engine to put the position of the boat to a death plane to kill ourselves and see what happens. When we did that, then brought us to our last checkpoint, which was the level prior. So let's say there's levels 1, 2, and 3. Level 2 does not set a checkpoint. You move back to level 1. You beat level 1, and then the game sends you to the next level, and the game thinks you're on 2, so it sends you to 3, pretty much skipping that middle level. So the game indiscriminately moves you forward. It doesn't say oh, you beat this level, so you move to this particular level. It's oh, you beat a level, so we will move you forward. So yeah, we knew about this since January of this year. We knew that we could do it. We just didn't have a way to die without having a checkpoint set. because once that checkpoint is set, then we can't go back and then proceed. But then a week and a half ago, I was just playing around, and I just so happened to play a salvaging mission, like a fishing mini game, pretty much. Like there's sections you can like fish for treasure.
Okay, I'm gonna step in here to explain this one super quickly. It's very simple. Basically, when the character is on the boat, you're able to switch between various stations that are on that boat. This allows you to have different activities. And when you're in the middle of one of these activities, you can still actually jump with the boat. And it turns out that if at the end of this little mini game you are still in the air from jumping with the boat, then the game kills you. And this is actually exactly what they needed to trigger a death before a checkpoint, right? They started the level, there was no checkpoint, they did the mini game, they die in the mini game, and then they go back to the previous level, which then takes you forward. So that's what you're gonna see in the footage here. They go into the air, and that is the game killing them and bringing them back. Okay, back to Kuro.
Flushed Away is a very, like, strangely technical and deep game. But yeah, if anyone is interested in hearing more about that, I highly implore you to join the Discord server. Just give the game a shot. Like, I got it on $7 on Amazon. There's a lot of activity in Flushed Away, just in running and just searching its mysteries. You'll be surprised as I am to that how I am still very actively involved and into it, even though I thought it was going to be like a week of just kind of like, all right, I'll just try and get the record and that's it.
Hi, my name is Mini352, and I just got world record in Wind Waker 100% for the GameCube. Wind Waker is actually like my favorite game, just in general, not even speedrunning, just any game ever. And so like I decided to speedrun it because of that and look into the speedruns. And I like this because I think it has a really nice balance of like movement and tricks. So there's this one glitch in the game called Storage, which is pretty much the most powerful glitch. And it lets you do super swims and other fun movement. But in general, when you're just like moving around, it's still just like regular movement, like rolling around and stuff. So I think it's a really nice mix of like doing these like super swims and other storage glitches, but then also just playing the game as you normally would and just optimizing normal movement. And I like the balance between that in this version. So I normally do not do runs this long. Like usually the longest run I would do is like around 3 hours. That's usually my max. But I've been running Wind Waker since 2018, and I've always like kind of seen 100%, but like never really had the chance to do it. But I have a lot of free time this summer, so I thought I'd just go for it. I do have to do some preparing. I have to like make sure I get out of bed on time, just stay in bed all day, and like get my food ready and stuff, which feels really weird. I'm not used to it. Like normally I make sure I have water and then I'm ready to go. So in this category, the first hour or so is actually like pretty difficult, so I can't really autopilot for the beginning of the run, especially like at the very, very beginning of the run. The very first trick you do is called a manual super swim, which the way I do it involves doing 200-ish frame perfect pauses in a row. So I have to be on my game from the very beginning of the run. But then like throughout the rest of the run, it's really just keeping a good mindset, because I was talking about the storage glitch earlier. That glitch is frame perfect, and it doesn't, like, if you fail it, it usually will only cost you like a couple seconds. But if you, like, you could just start failing it over and over again and lose like up to a minute on one glitch, and like that can really damage your mindset in the middle of a run. So just have to try and, you know, stay positive and not get thrown off by failing like one trick. There was like a period in 2015 where Demon was like running the category and pushing it, and he got a sub 7 time. And then Ace also beat him. And then nothing really happened until 2019. And in 2019, that was when Barrier Scope was discovered for SD. And if you know anything about Wind Waker speedrunning, or even just like speedrunning in general, like over a few years ago, you would have known that Barrier Skip is like, it was kind of regarded as the holy grail of not just Wind Waker, but like speedrunning in general. Because Barrier Skip in any percent saves like 3 hours on its own. But that glitch can also be used in 100%. So in 2019, Demon started running Hundo again with Barrier Skip and also with manual super swim. And so he pushed the record down even further. And then that was the run that I beat. Demon's record was like November 2019, I think. And Yeah, that was the last record until I beat it. Not that many people run 100%, so like it makes sense that it stood for a while, but it was also definitely a really good run. I was using a new route compared to what Demon used, which incorporated a new skip called Early Earth Temple. And actually, just like a couple weeks ago, Linkus did a GDQ run of Wind Waker All Dungeons, which also included the Early Earth Temple. So Early Earth Temple like saved like over 10 minutes in all dungeons, so it was a pretty big skip. In 100%, we made a new route, and we think that there's no like proper timing of it, but we think it saves around 3 to 4 minutes over the previous route. So with that in mind, like my run was actually pretty similar to Demon's run, because I beat Demon by 4 minutes. So with the time save from the new route, it was actually a pretty similar run to Demon's. Yeah, there is definitely time save. I failed a couple super swims in my run, which is like a minute each roughly. And I also, there's this one part in the run called Auction, which is basically just RNG. And I lost about 2 minutes to that. Yeah, sub 6:10 is definitely doable. I think something that is pretty interesting about my run was that it very nearly didn't happen. In that I was doing runs that day, and I had just had a run that died like half an hour into the run. And normally I do not like reset half an hour in and do another run. But I was like, I'll try another one. So I tried another run, which was the run that ended up being the world record. And about like 45 minutes into that run, I failed a trick. I failed a super swim. And then I was like, alright, I'm done for today. And I reset my timer. Like, I completely ended my splits. But then I realized that the way I failed it didn't actually end up losing that much time. So then I like continued the run with no timer and had to like do some scuffed stuff to like fix the timer. But yeah, like in my head, that run was dead, and I had reset my splits and everything, and I was about to like end my stream, and then I realized, oh, I can actually continue this, and it ended up being the world record.